Now, here in Europe, a string of recent attacks on Jewish targets in the United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands and Belgium has prompted governments to introduce new security measures to protect Jewish communities. Belgium has even deployed soldiers to protect Jewish sites and communities across the country. DW correspondent Christine Mhundwa reports from Antwerp.
We've come to the port city of Antwerp on Belgium's River Scheldt. It would look like an ordinary weekday apart from the presence of soldiers patrolling the streets. They're part of a 200-strong force that the government has deployed across Belgium to boost security at Jewish sites. The move comes in response to recent incidents suspected of being antisemitic attacks, torched cars in Antwerp, an explosion at a synagogue in Liège. In a recent EU poll, more than half of Europeans surveyed said they considered antisemitism a problem in their country.
It's set to bring more military.
Jewish people I spoke to in Antwerp tell me they're experiencing it firsthand. David coordinates a team of volunteers who conduct night patrols in the Jewish neighborhood.
But when you say you noticed a rise in antisemitism, can you tell me a little bit about what's been happening, what people in the Jewish community have been experiencing?
Yeah, a lot of shouting, I would say a lot of pestering. People got hit already on the streets.
Oh, wow, okay.
I wouldn't say it's a daily occurrence, but it happened.
Things are changed in the last few years. You feel it. You can feel it on the street. You see it on the streets. People are getting shouted at. Small kids are getting beaten up here. Couples are flying off. It's became very, very, very sad here. And unfortunately, I have kids here, and it's not so safe as it used to be.
You know, I'm minding my own business. I'm walking on the street, but I'm going to school or going to a friend, and there's just people walking at me, starting screaming like stuff that I don't particularly want to repeat. And I normally tend to just walk off and kind of move on, but it's still a very uncomfortable experience, especially if it's in the dark.
Hostile attitudes towards Jews have persisted in Europe. It's why it's not uncommon for Jewish sites and Israel-linked institutions to receive round-the-clock security. But this new wave of anti-Semitism in Europe has been linked to Israeli government policy in Gaza and now in Iran. This community leader says there are misconceptions about this connection.
Many people who are affected and influenced by the media are seeing images of what Israel is doing in Gaza. I believe that the not Jewish world sees Israel and Jewish as one, and that's not necessarily the case.
Antwerp has one of the largest Jewish communities in Europe. Its roots date back to the 16th century, when Jews driven out of Spain and Portugal migrated here. The community grew when Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe arrived in the 19th and 20th centuries. Today, a significant portion of the community are Orthodox Jews. It's why people sometimes refer to Antwerp as the Jerusalem of the North. Etty now runs the local kosher grocer her father founded 40 years ago. It's a mainstay for the Jewish community. And with the Passover holiday, Pesach, just days away, it's a particularly busy time.
Everything is here kosher. Everything comes from above, America, Israel, United Kingdom, France, wherever they produce something in kosher, we have it in our shop. We always try to be on top of everything. But now they're returning to Pesach.
Yeah.
So the people know that whatever they need for the Pesach, they can come and buy in Grand Center, all the kosher items.
But this year, the recent attacks hang over preparations for the holiday. Israel's National Security Council has urged extra caution when attending Passover events at sites identified as Jewish or Israeli. A tense background ahead of this most important Jewish holiday.
I'm joined now by Bart Wallet. He's Professor of Jewish Studies at the University of Amsterdam. Good to have you with us. So we've just seen this report on the Jewish community in Antwerp. More caution, heightened security. How representative, would you say, is the situation for them for the whole of Europe?
Yes, I'm afraid this is the case for many Jewish communities in Europe at this moment and this time. Many communities are protected both by internal security guards and by national police, or even the soldiers, as we see in Belgium. Especially visible Jews and visibly Jewish spaces such as synagogues, Jewish community centers, Jewish schools are endangered in these times, so they need protection.
Now, in our report, we just heard that this new wave of anti-Semitism could be linked to Israel's actions in Gaza and now also in Iran. First of all, would you agree to that? So is this rise in hostility more a political backlash rather than anti-Semitism?
So unfortunately, we see two things. On the one hand, there is a anti-Semitism which is a part of European populations, and this is definitely also on the rise when there are international conflicts in the Middle East. So there is a link there. The second element is that we've seen that when there are wars in the Middle East, they also have a direct impact on anti-Semitism in the form of anti-Semitic attacks. So, for instance, in 2015-16, with Islamic State, we witnessed a series of anti-Jewish acts, attacks on synagogues, on kosher shops, on the Jewish Museum in Belgium, for instance. And now with the Iran war, we have exactly the same. Again, actors from the Middle East or directed from the Middle East targeting Jewish communities here. So it is unfortunately a mixture of both European processes and larger geopolitical processes.
So you're saying anti-Semitism is somewhat ingrained in Europe culturally, and it keeps rising whenever there is some political incident happening at the same time. Now, we know, of course, anti-Semitism, sadly, is nothing new, but why does it keep resurfacing time and time again?
So it is a repertoire which is from late antiquity a part of the cultural memory of many people in Europe, and especially in times of conflict and crisis, when people lose control over their lives and become angry. For instance, we see that people tend to turn to the anti-Semitic repertoire, and in which Jews often symbolize ultimate evil. And so all evil processes are projected on the Jews. And there's of course another thing that it helps to if there are complex and complicated situations in the world, to simplify these by having a very clear actor of evil, which in this case would be the Jews. So unfortunately, we see this process time and time again.
Right. Bart, with just about a minute left, is there anything that can be done in order to at least end this current wave of anti-Semitism?
Well, I think we need to do a couple of things. One thing is protection and security, but the other thing is to give more attention to Jewish life and to show Europeans and other people in the world that Jews are not just victims, Jews are not just Israelis, but Jews are also part of European societies, contributing to these societies with a long and rich, dynamic tradition, which has enriched European culture and which will enrich European culture for many more years to come.
If you say we, just very briefly, who do you mean by that? Who should make Jewish life more visible?
I would say every European citizen has something to do here. It's too easy only to turn towards governments, although governments do have an important role to play. But combating anti-Semitism and providing accurate ideas about Jews is a task for every citizen. So if you encounter anti-Semitism, you should stand up and you should protect your local Jews.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Professor of Jewish Studies at the University of Amsterdam, Bart Wallet. Thank you.
Thank you.